After a year of wavering, I finally dove into Honkai Star Rail this month. I'm having a blast, but the regret? A little too real. All the pulls I miss, the exclusive characters I'll never see, and don't even get me started on Dr. Ratio. I could have been gazing at his flawless, rendered self ages ago in my team. However, he's not in my team. In fact, he's not even on my account. But hey, better late than never to lose yourself in a game filled with beautiful characters, right? To be fair, my hesitance wasn't totally unfounded. I was deep in Genshin Impact, caught up in its fast-paced action, and HSR felt slower, a bit more methodical with the whole turn-based setup. Plus, if we're honest, HSR seemed heavy on the waifu angle, which is great for some players, but I'm someone who appreciates his fictional men. Yet, here we are, a few patches later, and things are looking better for Husbando fans. It's not a total dream lineup yet, but we're seeing more options, and that's a welcome shift. Just as I committed to playing though, power creep panic was everywhere. People warned that 1.x characters were already yesterday's news, phased out by the stronger 2.x units. Cue my anxiety. Am I getting attached just to watch my favorites turn into benchwarmers? But then I thought, if you love the storytelling, the flashy combat, and the thrill of a pull, you have to tune out the doom posting and just play. The game's nearing its 3.0 era with more content, fresh characters, and new metas on the horizon. I'm here for every bit of it. So, hello! I'm Tree, the gay cousin you avoid at family reunions, here to unpack the new player experience in Honkai Star Rail, and explore everything that makes this game a strangely addictive adventure. To my surprise, Star Rail's story pulled me in fast. They throw you right into the action with Kafka, who, if you're into gacha games, you've likely seen before. It's like they're giving you a wink and saying, you're one of us now. Before I knew it, I was completely invested in the main trio, the Trailblazer, Kalis of course, the male variant is where it's at, if you're like me and very, very gay, March 7th, and my now unbreakable bond with Dan Hung. Then there was Luca. I wasn't prepared for Luca, okay? Recently, he had his own event, and I went in thinking, oh, here we go, another little side quest. But MiHoYo threw me for a loop by giving him an incredibly touching storyline. I'm still kind of shocked they invested so much depth into a 4-star character. And while MiHoYo has a knack for dragging out stories, the lack of a skip button is painfully real sometimes. Luca's story brought an emotional depth that made me sit up and really listen. Not going into spoilers, but let's just say I walked away unexpectedly moved. Humorously, I have to wonder if I'd have paid as much attention if Luca was a woman. I'd like to think I would, but probably not. Comparing this to Genshin Impact, HSR seems better suited to live service. Genshin tries to tell this massive globe-trotting epic, but keeps getting sidetracked by regional politics and lore drops. Who even is the Traveler? Where's their sibling? And the Traveler has all the emotional range of a rock. Trailblazer, though. Trailblazer is a person, or at least a delightful, slightly deranged, cosmic errand runner. Kalis feels like a lovable gremlin with the heart of a lion and the IQ of a squirrel. And while I'm all in on this journey, the new player experience is no joke. It's endless, a cosmic to-do list that grows faster than I can finish it. But I'm here for it, taking it one quest at a time and bracing myself for the road ahead. As it turns out, enjoying the story is one thing. Making actual progress, that's an entirely different journey. Star Rail's progression system feels like an obstacle course with no end in sight. As a former Genshin player, I had a rough idea of what to expect, but I can't imagine the confusion for someone diving into HSR as their first gacha game. Do I upgrade traces? Should I prioritize relics? The answer, as it turns out, isn't simple. I landed on prioritizing character traces over relics, because while traces are reliable upgrades, relics are a brutal RNG gamble. Compared to Genshin, this system is, well, a step down. With Star Rail, there are even more stats to manage, and if you don't get lucky, it's going to be rage-inducing. The game sets you up to fail in this regard. They throw a bunch of systems at you, relics included, which is overwhelming in the first few hours. Lesson learned, don't even bother with relics until you hit Union level 50, maybe 60. Once you're there, 5-star relics drop more often, making the grind slightly less soul-crushing. But there's another catch. Every 10 levels, you have to ascend characters, level them, upgrade their light cones and traces, all over again. Just when you think you're getting somewhere, there's a new hill to climb. Honestly, the whole thing is a little excruciating, bordering on absurd. I'm not sure what MiHoYo was thinking, but here we are, grinding away because, well, we're committed now, aren't we? It's not the worst system I've dealt with in a game. For example, Dead by Daylight's new player experience is far worse in my opinion, but that doesn't mean Star Rail's system is good. Guides are written for the well-endowed, in terms of units. So after struggling through progression, I thought I'd find some relief by consulting guides, only to discover that they're written with a certain assumption in mind. As a new player, I relied on resources like Pridewind to get my bearings, and while I skimmed more than I should have, I came away with a basic understanding of where to start. Having guides that list which characters to aim for and how to progress, super helpful. But here's the kicker. They make you think certain characters are easier to get than they really are. Case in point, Lynx, the game's second 4-star healer. I thought she'd be an early addition, only to discover that she's locked behind Pure Fiction, a mode that demands 2 strong teams. And for a new player lacking 2 viable teams, that's a carrot dangling just out of reach. Every guide insists, throw in Tingyan, she's totally free-to-play friendly. Well, except for those of us who don't have Tingyan. So much for accessibility. I do have Bronya, a solid support, but she doesn't quite sync with my Imbibitor Lune. Still, I'm making it work. Less than ideal or not. It's all just a bit of a headache. If I'm being honest though, my own stubbornness has probably complicated my HSR experience. But without these online guides, I'd be even more lost. And then there's the experience of missing out. Nothing prepared me for the disappointment of older event characters being completely out of reach. I was barely through the tutorial when I heard about Gallagher, an amazing 4-star healer and a meta staple. Gallagher was available in multiple events, and I thought, perfect, I'll just play through the event and get him. But after some digging, I realized he's not accessible for new players. It's painful. I wish MiHoYo would rework this aspect because locking out characters like this just feels unfair. Now, I'm anxiously waiting for the next character event with free units up for grabs. I want my free unit, damn it. Everyone else has one. Why not me? The FOMO is real to the point where I'm tempted to throw polls at any banner with a 4-star I want, even if the 5-star doesn't appeal to me. It's a mental trap of just 20 polls, maybe 20 more. Just testing my luck. On the bright side, playing old events is still worth it for the resources, which help with leveling the characters you do have. It's a small nod from the game saying, hey, we see you, newbie. But I can't help wishing we got the characters too. FOMO tactics in gacha games feel exhausting. More inclusive rewards would help new players feel less behind, making the experience feel more welcoming. So yes, I'll take the resources, but I'd really love to get the full event perks someday. Until then, I'll just keep dreaming about pulling those elusive 4-stars. Speaking of missing out, let's talk sustain, or rather, the lack of it. HSR gives you one abundance unit early on, Natasha. March 7th steps in as a preservation unit, adding some shielding, but neither quite fills the gaps. Together, they make a sort of okay combo that works, until it doesn't. Eventually, I lucked out and got links on the Imbibitor Lune banner, but until then, it was me and Natasha against the world. Meanwhile, I'd look up team comps and see recommendations like a 5-star Sparkle, or as a budget option, a combo of 4-stars like Tingyan or Hanya. Without any of them, I was left wondering how to make my favorite character actually work. I absolutely feel the pressure to pull for characters just to make my preferred team viable. It's a vicious cycle that many HSR players face. Do you chase meta units for long-term account health, or go with your favorites? Right now, I'm leaning toward husbando over meta, but that approach can only hold out for so long. I just wish there were more flexibility in viable team building options. It's only truly frustrating when essential roles are tied to specific units, or when you feel like the game's nudging you to pull for characters you don't even like. This is where it feels less like a challenge and more like a frustration. For any newcomers, my advice is simple. Invest in Pela and Asta. They're versatile supports who fill important niches and help round out your team. They won't make all your problems go away, but at least they're reliable. Character viability is a constant struggle in a game like Star Rail. Donhung, my boy, Daniel, is a perfect example. I genuinely enjoy his 4-star variant, but the truth is, he's not that great. And sure, we have better Daniel now in Viability Lune, but I'd love to see the original Donhung get the same kind of glow up that characters like Trailblazer and March 7th have. Trailblazer's imaginary variant is a meta game changer with his super break, and March 7th's hunt form makes her a flexible DPS option. Meanwhile, poor Donhung's original form just lags behind. I'd love to invest in him more without feeling like it's a waste. Then there are characters who've made comebacks thanks to recent changes. Himiko's rise in AoE-centric modes like Pure Fiction, with mechanics like Super Break, has been fun to watch. Herta, who once lagged behind, now shines in Pure Fiction as well, where she can finally play to her strengths. Still, it stings when characters you like are deemed subpar. Welt, for example, has this interesting design and backstory, yet guide after guide tells me he doesn't really excel at anything. It's frustrating, a reminder that attachment to characters has to be tempered by practicality. That said, there's hope MiHoYo will continue refreshing old characters. The upcoming Sunday release, designed to support the summoner archetype, has given a boost to Jing Yuan, something his fans have been waiting for. It's promising to see this attention on older characters, and I hope MiHoYo gives others the same opportunity. For now, I'm holding out hope that characters like Donhung and Welt will someday get their moment in the spotlight. However, that's not to say it's impossible to use your favorite characters. It's absolutely possible to use the characters you love without abandoning HSR's meta. Sure, your battles may take longer without the one-turn clears that YouTube loves, but that level of efficiency isn't necessary for max rewards. From what I hear, anyway. I'm not quite in endgame myself yet, but that's the story. That's the story I've heard. For me, the real fun is building around characters I love, not chasing the best units. If I don't get to use the ones I like, why play? I'm here to make Viability Lune shine on my own terms, and I'm working to build the best husbando-centric team I can. At the same time, I stay aware of viable strategies and try to keep a balance between practical builds and my favorites. I'd rather follow my own objectives, like keeping Donhung at the forefront, than lose myself in the metagame. Play the way you want to. Forget about maximizing efficiency and stick with characters you enjoy. While the FOMO is real and it's hard to shake, remember that Star Rail is supposed to be for fun, not a race for flawless optimization. Reflecting on my journey so far, I can say that I've loved my time. If there's one thing I'd do differently, it might be sticking with a single team instead of constantly theory crafting. But I can't resist testing new combinations and watching characters come into their own. The only downside, eventually running out of resources. It's a reminder that progress takes patience, and lots of it. Even so, I get a strange satisfaction watching my Stellar Jade stash grow, knowing it'll soon be time for another pull. Right now, all my Stellar Jades are aimed at Sunday, and I'm excited to see what he'll add to my roster. From there, I'll keep building around characters I love and find my own path forward. To sum it up, Star Rail has been a mix of discovery, strategy, and a bit of that gacha luck magic. There's a unique charm here with all of its quirks and endless possibilities that keeps me invested in wanting to see what's next. If you're considering jumping in, embrace the journey. Don't worry too much about efficiency, especially early on. Invest in characters you like, even if they aren't meta. and find your own goals along the way. It's easy to get caught up in the FOMO, but in the end, it's about building a roster that keeps you playing. Enjoy the story, the characters, and the game itself, and you'll find your way.